Hello, hello. Welcome to the Mother Days podcast. I'm Teresa Palmer.
I'm Sarah Olsen. I can't believe it.
And whichever one you want to go with, we have either Otis or Lotion in the house.
We were literally sitting here talking. We were like, it's Ocean and Lotus. So it's Otis. And then we're like, or it could be Lotion. Oh
Lotion.
my God.
Maybe Lotion's better.
Oh my God. We really need somebody who's like Lotus and Ocean to start dating so we could just call them Lotion.
Lotion. Yeah.
What's
Lotion.
the latest on Lotion?
Oh my God. It's so funny. So we have not one, but two babies in the house.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe it, you guys. I was thinking about this morning before we sat down to record, and I was like, you guys remember like the last 2 years, all those times we were talking about like, oh, we're just dreaming of the day when we both have these like babies in our arms, and maybe it'll be around the same time or maybe it won't. And like, I just can't. I remember Laura Lynn Jackson being like, Sarah's going to get pregnant and then you will right after. And then you guys are going to have these babies together and they're like on the other side together. And it's just so crazy.
And the fact that you had this inkling when I did not, that I was having a girl.
So I had this feeling that you were having a girl, but of course, like you weren't finding out, right? So
yeah,
there was, I think it was Emily, who we had interviewed on here, who was like, now does Teresa know? Well, she said something about how our girls were going to be like, together. They were so connected and like all these things. And she was like, but wait, does Teresa know what she's having? And I was like, she's not finding out. And she's like, okay. And I was like, is it like feminine energy? And she was like, I would say so. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I'm so curious if she's, gonna be right. But then this whole time you were like, it's a boy, it's a boy. And I was like, it's so funny because Winter was so convinced about our baby being a girl and everyone else was like, it's a boy, but Winter is our woo-woo baby, right? So she's like, you guys are tripping. It's a girl. Like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny that you and I both thought we were having boys. Although you found out really early in your pregnancy that you weren't.
Very early.
Whereas I went the entire pregnancy thinking, I kept saying to the boys, like, isn't it crazy to think, like, there's like a little floating penis in me right now. Like this baby has a little floating penis. And they were like, Mum, you don't know that. And I was like, oh, but mother's intuition, like,
oh my God.
I do. Oh my God.
I've never been wrong until this time. So
my gosh. It was so, but you are exactly what I want.
I can't wait to hear the story. And I also cannot wait to hear the moment you found out if it was a girl or a boy, and was it worth the wait?
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's jump into the story. I think I should start by saying that the lead up to this labor was insane. It was almost like the universe was kind of laughing at me. I was getting thrown so much shit.
You really were.
At some point, I was like, all I can do is laugh because it's been one thing after the next. And I kept thinking, is this the Great Reckoning? Like, am I purging all of this stuff now so that labor is going to be really easy for me? Because it was like one thing after the next. The kids got sick when I was 38 and a half weeks pregnant, and it went from like all of them having fevers into school sores. So Paula had school sores on her mouth.
What does school sores mean?
Like impetigo. But like it's almost like hand, foot, and mouth. Like
What?
I know. And I was like, cool, right before we have a newborn, like.
Wait, what? What is that? I've never heard of that before. Is it hand, foot, and mouth or something different?
I think it's something different. They're called school sores here, or impetigo, which is basically like bacteria gets into a split lip or a cut or something. And at first I was like, yo, are my kids getting cold sores for the first time in their life, like 2 weeks before I have a baby? Like, what is going on? Like, I was looking at Forrest and I was like, I think he's got cold sores. Like, what the hell? And then I looked at Poa and she started getting one too. And I was like, oh my God. And then I said to Mark, I know what this is. This is school sores. And then, of course, at school, there had been a case of school sores and da-da-da. Anyway, so I was like, right on antibiotics. Like, we are doing it straight away. Like, there are other, like, longer, holistic, alternative, like, ways to get over this. And I was like,
yeah, but that's like such a painful one.
I was like, absolutely not. Like, we're going straight for the antibiotic ointment. And then we got it quite early, so it was fine. But then she must have scratched her school sore and then put her finger in her ear, because then the bacteria went into the ear.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so then she had to have antibiotics for her ear. And then so Mark's like doing a regimen to try and build them back up and with probiotics. And it was just like sick, miserable, flat kids right as I'm about to be like 39 weeks pregnant. Oh. And then, as I talked about, Mark had this like big sort of emotional dip out. I think I was 38 and 5.
Yeah.
And that sort of took our family out for a couple of days. Like, that was, you know, something that he moved through and ultimately like ended up being such a beautiful thing for him, like such a great emotional reset. But it was really stressful at the time. And so it was like dealing with that, dealing with the kids. And then our cat went missing and we couldn't find our
Aslan.
Aslan goes missing. He's missing for like 24 hours and then I break my toe. So I'm like, everyone's wondering where this cat is. I go and break my toe. I'm hobbling. I'm in so much pain. My whole foot goes purple. I'm like, what is going on?
The picture, like, you have to show the picture to the Daisies. Picture. They need to see this toe. She sent me a picture. It's so black. It's so black. It's a dead toe.
And it was so painful. I was feeling like, I was having these rushes of pain into my foot and it was throbbing. I couldn't sleep with the quilt on my foot. So my foot was elevated and out of the bed. And I'm like, now I'm like 39 and a half weeks pregnant. And then the cat was so stressful. We couldn't find the cat anywhere. And then I had this really weird witchy moment where I was putting the girls to bed. I was just like, fuck this week. Like, this has been the worst. And I kept being like, all right, baby, you got to give me a week. Like, you have got to give me a week. I need my toe to be healed. I need to figure out where the hell Aslan is. Like, I don't want to be in mourning over our cat, like, and trying to birth. And so I'm lying in bed with the girls. They get to sleep, but I just have this feeling. I'm like, I'm going to go outside. I hobble outside. It's pitch black. Mark had been looking for the cat earlier that day. He had done a full perimeter look and could not find the cat anywhere. And I was like getting a bit teary about it because like he's like the legend of the house. Like, we love our cat so much. And the dogs seemed really depressed. And I was like, oh God, like, where is this cat? Like, not now.
God.
And I go outside and it's a full moon. And I'm outside for 10 seconds. Mark's like, what are you doing? Because I can't barely walk. And I'm so pregnant. And I was like, I just need to see if I can find Aslan. And then Mark's like, just do it in the morning. Like, I'll come with you again. We'll look in the morning. We'll go to the neighbors. We'll door knock, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I just have a feeling I just want to go out there now. I'm out there for like 10 seconds. I hobble down towards the pool and I'm like, Aslan. And then I hear the most pitiful little noise and it's going, like that. And I was like, oh my God. And so I called his name again. I was like, Aslan. And I had walked myself like 2 meters away from where he had been laying for 2 full days under a bush, paralyzed. He had a paralysis tick. And at first I thought it was a brown snake, like he'd been bitten by a snake. And I went hobbling, screaming into the house, Mark, I found him. I'm sobbing, crying, like, he's dying. And then the boys were still awake. So they come out, they're sobbing, he's dying. Like everyone's freaking out. I'm like shoving my clothes on to take him to the emergency vet. Mark's like, you are staying here. I will take the cat to the vet. So he gets in the car, takes the cat to the vet. Anyway, long story short, this cat miraculously pulls through. On the Friday, which is like my due date, on the Friday, we hear he's not going to make it. So prepare yourself, he's going to die. And that was the day I was due. And
my God.
And we all cried together and but then I kept saying, why was I called to the spot to find the cat?
Yeah.
In the middle of the night, only for him to die. I don't understand. Like the universe pulled me to this cat and he's just going to die? Like this doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Yeah, and I was like, surely not. And then, little by little each day, it was like, well, he's surprising us. He's coming off the oxygen and I don't know, he started getting movement back in his body and it's a bizarre, like miraculous turnaround. But you guys, your cat's going to survive. And so by the time I found out that the cat was going to survive and the cat was coming home, it was Tuesday. And I was like 40 plus 3. And I was like, okay, things are calming down. My toe's feeling better. The cat's okay. The kids are back at school. They're not sick anymore. Like, all right, Bubba, like it's going to be time. So I was having that week on and off tightenings and nothing to like write home about, but I definitely was feeling that they were a little bit pinchier than Braxton Hicks. I was kind of like, all right, I'm going to chalk this up to prodromal labor. Like this is what this is, where it starts and there's kind of a regular pattern to them and maybe they'll last for 2 hours or 3 hours, but the intensity doesn't grow. It was like it was still about a 3 out of 10. But it was exciting enough to know that, if anyone's listening to this and you're like dealing with prodromal labor, it's kind of gives you this false sense of like excitement because you're like, it's gearing up, it's happening, but it can be really frustrating. And I'm here to tell you that prodromal labor, it's not for nothing. Your body is prepping, your cervix is thinning, you're getting more effaced, the baby's getting closer and closer with each one.
Yeah.
So
getting baby into the right position.
Exactly. Too. And even though I was like, come on, like, let's go. Like, I'm over my due date. Like, ramp these babies up. Like, I was also like, okay, this is doing the work that I want it to do so that when it is go time, it's going to feel easier for me. Or some of the work's already been done. So that was kind of the Tuesday and Wednesday. And that was kind of that was a bit exciting. Not enough to like I didn't tell my midwives or anything. I was just, feeling them out and realizing like, okay, there's some action going on. At this point, I haven't lost my mucus plug. There's no bloody show. I do have diarrhea there we go, little TMI. On the Wednesday, I had some diarrhea. I had decided that I wanted to go in for a CTG scan, which is the American equivalent to an NST.
Yeah.
And I had been exactly a week prior, and the doctor said, like, everything looks great. But that wasn't an official CTG. It was just a bedside scan when I was like, 39 plus 5 days. And they said the baby was measuring about 7 pound 8, like 3.4 kilograms. The baby looked great and everything. So I felt really confident, but it was a week later and I just thought, why not go in? Why not just make sure baby's still happy in there, check the amniotic fluid. I'm going to go in for a scan. So that the CTG takes place in the hospital. So I decided on the 17th of September, which was the day that I thought I might give birth. I was like, because, I've had 2 on the 17th and 2 on the 12th. And so I was like, okay. So I went in on Wednesday the 17th and it was just a routine thing. It was like I went in at 11:30 and I was meant to be in for 20 minutes. And that's not what happened. So I got in, I got strapped up to the machine. I was in the labor assessment unit and my baby, her heart rate was, and if anyone knows about heart rates, what they do at these scans is they like to see a baseline, like what's the baby's baseline, and usually somewhere between 110 and 150 or 160 is kind of what they like to see as the baby's baseline. And then when they're moving and they're active, the heart rate should increase and then come back down to the baseline.
Yeah.
So what was happening with my little bubba was it's called having a tachy baby. So tachycardia or something like that. Not the official term, but it's where the heart is racing and it's where the accelerations are so high. But what was happening was she wasn't, and I didn't know it was a she obviously at the time, but I will be using she during this story. Her heart rate never dipped back down to find a baseline. They just could not find a baseline for her because she was always over 160. She was between 160 and 193.
What?
So, and she was just it was just up the whole time. And they were at first, for the first hour, they were sorry, she's very active. Oh, your baby's very active. We don't know.
They're so stressful, those things.
I know.
Tests. It's stressful.
And at first, they were like, baby's just active. And I was like, baby really is active. And you have to press a button every time the baby moves. And I was pressing that thing consistently, every 5 seconds.
Wow.
I was like, move.
They don't have that here.
Right. So they want to correlate the movement, the black dots on the screen where they're moving with the high heart rate. But because my baby moved, guys, no joke, she did not stop moving for 3 hours.
Oh, my God.
So for 3 hours, her heart rate was up in this tacky, as they say, a tacky state. We don't know why. And then the narrative started being it shifted from, oh, my God, what an active baby, to, hey, so we're not sure what your baby's trying to tell us. Maybe there's meconium, maybe they're bothered in there, but there's something going on that the heart is at this very sort of active, fast rate. And I was like, okay, so what does that mean? And then so 2 different doctors came in to see me. The first doctor was the head senior of the hospital. He was like, your post dates, of the last 8 babies I've seen who are post dates, all 8 of them have had meconium and have had to go to the special, the nursery to get some help with their breathing. I'm concerned that maybe your baby has taken in some meconium and that's why it's having this reaction. So he was like, my recommendation is to induce you, and if you still want your home birth, you could discharge yourself, but that would be against our medical recommendation. And I was like, okay. So here I am on the 17th of September being like, I'm not giving birth at home anymore? What? This is such a pivot. And, I'm calling Mark, I'm calling my midwives. I'm like, this is the story. I might be giving birth here tonight at the hospital. And then my midwife, Libby, was like, have you taken a break from the monitoring? Have they let you have a break from it? And I was like, well, no, not really. And then they were like, look, we're going to keep the monitors on, but we're going to give you IV fluid. So maybe you're dehydrated and that's sometimes that's why baby's heart rate is high. So we're going to give you IV fluid. I was like, okay. And then the nurse that was in there, she was, bless her heart, she was actually just the sweetest girl ever, but she was new. And they were like, hey, is it okay if we do your, like, if I'm do your cannula? I've done one or two before. She was like a student. And I was
Oh
like,
dear. Oh dear.
Sure. I'm a fifth-time mom.
Knowing what happened to me too.
I had your voice in the back of my head, but I'm such like a people pleaser too that I was like,
I know.
Oh, well, I wouldn't want her to try on like a new mom. Like I'm a fifth-time mom. Like she should practice on me. And then I was like, all right, ready to be the pincushion,
Jesus.
put my hand out. And of course it went as well as you can imagine. And it was like pulling and twisting and
God.
I was like, oh God, what? I came here for a routine CTG, and now I've been here for 3 hours. I'm now getting fluids. I'm getting poked. I've got blood was spurting out. It was dripping down my hand. I was like, oh my God, here we go. And then, got the IV fluid, and then the second doctor came in and was like, there's just been no change. Like, I'm sorry.
What?
I really recommend that we do this.
I don't remember that part.
Yeah, so she was just like, they had found, they were like, oh, we think we found the baseline, maybe 140, but the problem is she'd stay at 140 for like 10 seconds and straight back up again.
Whoa.
So I was like, I don't know what to say. And they said, can we wheel you around? Not wheel you. Can you walk around holding your like little IV pole? Can you walk around to the birthing suites? And why don't we get you checked in there? And if you decide not to.
Oh my gosh, you got so close.
I know. And if you decide not to, go ahead, we totally hear that. And I was like, I would be happy to be induced if it's only my waters broken, because I've had 2 successful times where my waters have been broken. Yeah. And they were like, okay, we would be okay with that, but, we don't think you should have a home birth. And then so my midwife arrived, Libby, and we were talking through everything, and she was like, look, we don't want to be in a situation where you're in the middle of your home birth and the heart rate's up high and you're having to transfer anyway.
Yeah.
So Libby was like, yep, this sounds like, this is an option. And I, at that point, was like, yep, that's what we're going to do. We're going to break the water. We're going to have this baby probably tonight here in these amazing birth suites, by the way, at the hospital. It was like, you can birth into water. It was an amazing birth suite. I was like, this is incredible. For people who birth here, it was at the Lismore Hospital. I was like, what an amazing place. And they also said my kids could be there. At first it was no, they couldn't. And then second, another midwife was like, yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, it's so quiet tonight. Like, we'll all take care of your babies. Like, just bring them in. Like, the more the merrier. So then I started feeling really confident about that plan. And I was like, cool, that's what we're doing. Mark, these are the things I need from home. Like, if you can get all this stuff. And then my other midwife, Julie, was headed to the house to pack up all my home birth equipment that I had laid out. My like back massager and my, just everything to bring to the hospital. Yeah. But then they were like, we're just going to do one more monitor. And they put the monitors on. And sure enough, suddenly her heart rate is like 130, 140. And they monitored for a full hour.
And she was fine.
Totally fine. And then the midwife there was like, cool, so you should just go home. And then both doctors came back in and they were like, well, we don't know why she was so excitable before. And I was like, well, she's asleep now. Like, and again, I didn't know the gender. So I was like, baby is asleep now. Like, they're not moving now. They're asleep. And, I could poke the baby and like wake it up a little bit and it would go back to sleep. So it was like, maybe I just had this really crazy active baby. But in the back of my mind, I was kind of like, oh my God, I could not believe I had to pivot like that in my mind and then pivot again. And now I'm like, well, psych, actually, I'm not having the baby tonight. Like, I'm just going home.
Were you a little bit disappointed at that point? Were you like, well, I kind of like was so ready? Like, I feel like a lot of women get to that place where it's like an almost, and then they just decide, you know what, I'm just doing it anyway because I'm ready to just like have the baby.
And I had to make that decision. I was like, am I? And I was sitting in it and I was like, what do I feel? What do I feel? And then with Libby was so great because she was just like, it's up to you. Like go deep into your intuition and figure out what you want to do. I support anything. And then so what I came up with was like, all right, I've had this prodromal labor.
Yeah.
I feel the pressure in my cervix and my vagina and my butt. I was feeling the pressure so much. I haven't even got to the birth story yet, babe. Okay. I'm at the bit where I was in the hospital and I had to pivot and oh my God. Hi.
Hi, should I
come back?
Maybe.
Come back, yeah. Yeah, so I get to this point where I just decide, all right, what about tomorrow we do a stretch and sweep to get things going? Because I wasn't even going to do that. I was like not planning on doing that. I was like, let's do a stretch and sweep and see if we can get things going. And Libby was like, great plan. So the plan was on Thursday the 18th, my midwives were coming over and she was going to do a stretch and sweep. That day I had really bad heavy diarrhea. And the night before I had crazy night sweats and I started panicking like maybe I did have an infection. Maybe that's why baby was feeling, like the heart was racing because I had such bad night sweats that I was like, I'm cold, I'm hot. But what I look back on now is I think it might have been adrenaline, like the knowing that this was about to begin. And then I had my stretch I had prodromal labor. I'm looking at my notes. I had prodromal labor that day, that next day, from 8:45 a.m. all day, like literally the whole day. So from 8:45 a.m. until they arrived, I think they arrived around like 11 a.m. for the sweep. It was consistent. But again, not really going in any sort of intensity.
Not feeling like really strong, but like what, 6 minutes to 10 minutes apart?
Like 5 minutes apart,
like
but not still like a 3. Like never getting to the next one's a 4, the next one's a 5, not like that.
That's exactly what I had. For that whole like week or whatever 2 weeks leading up to it, but like those days where it'd be like 10 hours of like 10 minutes apart or like,
exactly.
So crazy.
And it's so weird because you're like, oh, here we go. And then it didn't happen.
And you're kind of wanting it to get strong. You're like, all right, let's do it.
I know. I'm like, ooh, was that one stronger? Oh, yeah. And also I got my cough back, obviously, in the last week.
What? How?
So great. Oh, Bodhi was sick.
Oh, so, shoot.
It was after the fever. I was like, here we go. Gonna have this during labor. Anyway, so I ended up having my stretch and sweep, which was so it was not comfortable, but it was not uncomfortable. I had them before where they have felt really like, oh God, that is pinchy or like that feels too intense or whatever, but it was really fine. And she said, okay, great. You are 2 to 3 centimeters dilated and you're 50% effaced.
Ooh, so good.
This feels like, the baby will be here in the next couple of days. And then they left and I actually just decided to take myself to bed. So I was like, I need rest. I need to sleep. I feel like I intuitively felt like it was gearing up. So I was like, I'm just going to sleep. So I slept until 6:30 p.m. I just slept.
Wow, all day.
Slept, well, yeah, like on and off all day. But I got out of bed at 6:30.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that felt really good. And I go to the bathroom and then I could see the mucus plug. And I was like, all right, cool, that's gone. And then from 6:30, once I got up, then that's when I started getting prodromal labor that felt like a little bit more intense. Not like intense at all.
Yeah.
Still like a 4 out of 10. and not increasing in intensity at this point, but it was so regular. It was like every 4 minutes it was happening, and I was like, ooh. And I was out there with Mark, and I had just put the girls to bed, and I was like, oh yeah, this feels good. And it was at 8:00, Bodhi was showing me these little cards, these laminated Bodhimon cards that he's been working on instead of Pokemon. He's been doing these Bodhimon cards.
Cute.
And he had just finished one, and he was like in the middle of telling me about this Bodhimon card, and my water broke. At
How
8
do you
p.m.
like, what did it feel like?
Like a gush of water.
Warm water?
Yes, warm water down my leg. And I
Oh,
knew
down
I
your
had
leg.
just peed. I had just peed. So I knew it wasn't pee. And it went into my knickers down my leg. And then I went, oh my God, my water just broke. And then Mark's like, what? And he came out, and I was like, oh my God, my water just broke. And Bodhi's like, oh my God, because he's seen enough birth videos to know, like, oh, it's probably on. And he was like, oh my God, Mum, you can have this symbolically, my Bodhimon card, because it's the card that like I was showing you when your water broke. And he gave me his little Bodhimon card, and I was like, oh, thanks. And then I like texted my midwives, and I was like, yep, water just broke. Well, at least I think it was the water. It wasn't the whole thing. It felt like it was like just the hind water. Because it wasn't like, I've had my waters broken before where it's just consistently pouring out of you. It was like a big chunk dripping. I put the pad on. My midwife said, is the water clear? Does it look clear? And I was like, yep, it looks clear. Like a sort of tea color. There was a little bit of tea color in it. And then I was like, is that meconium? So I like sent a photo to them, and they're like, no, that's like amniotic fluid. That's a normal color. And they're like, get some rest. Go to bed. And I was like, I'm going to bed. So I was, of course, like a bit excited, but I knew that I was not going to have a repeat of Prairie's birth and Bodhi's birth, where after my water had broken, I got too excited to sleep for both of those births. And this time round, I was like, I need to sleep. And so I ignored, I was feeling rushes coming, and they were still around like a 4 out of 10. But I was like, I'm going to actively practice the ignore, and I'm just going to ignore this. So I completely ignored them, and I managed to fall asleep. So I slept from like 8:30, and then at midnight, I got woken up with an intense one, like a more intense one. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to lie here and see if I could just breathe, like stay in bed and just keep ignoring this. But then it came, and I was like, okay. Oh, this feels different. I'm like, okay. And then so I just quietly got up. The whole house was everyone was fast asleep. Oh, here's the other funny thing. Forrest was at a sleepover. So
oh my God.
he had gone to sleepover, and I had told Mark to text the dad and say, hey, and it's Mick, so Jess from Days But Amazed. Forrest was having a sleepover at their house. But it was just Mick and Dash and Forrest. And so I had told Mark to give Mick the heads up, like, dude, you might be driving Forrest in the middle of the night to like make the birth. And he was like, I'm on standby. So he had like left his phone on loud and stuff, bless his heart. So I get up, and it's at like midnight, and it's probably like a 5 out of 10. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, all right, I feel pretty good about this. What I'm going to try and do is like slow these down. And this is so ridiculous. I don't want to wake up my midwives in the middle of the night. So, it'd be so much better if like I birthed or started going into full-blown labor at like 6 a.m. Because I was also conscious about like Mick and having to wake up Forrest in the middle of the night. And I was like, maybe if I have a bath, these will just sort of slow down. And so I had a bath, and they started they started spacing out. So they started spacing out to like 6 minutes apart or 7 minutes apart, sometimes 9 minutes apart. And I was like, okay. But even though they were getting spaced out, they were getting more intense. So I was like, okay, this is the real deal. Like, this is how you know, by the way, if you change positions, if you have a bath, if you go to sleep and things space out and go away, that's how you know, like, all right, I'm probably not in early labor.
Yeah.
But it was still there. So I was like, okay, all right, so it's game on. I'm not going to go back to sleep at this point. I'm going to get out of the bed. And then I started like really moaning, like starting to moan through them. And I was holding onto my like where you hang your towel up in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And I was like pulling on those poles and holding and like being like, oh, and that's what woke Mark up. So at like 1:30, he woke up. And I was like, just lie in bed. We're all good. I'm going to go out into the lounge room. And I put all the fairy lights on around the pool. I put my birth album on, and I just I labored on my own in that room with the twinkling lights and the music.
That's so special. Oh my God.
Like on my own. I just felt like I want to do this on my own. But at about 1:45, I rang Libby just to say, like, I'm so sorry. You can go back to bed. I just wanted to let you know that things are picking up over here. And I think, you know, this is the real thing. But go back to bed. I'll call you in like an hour or whatever. And then she was like, okay. So she went back to bed. But I don't know if she did actually go back to bed. I think she told me later that she didn't. Like, she just sort of knew. And here I was being like, I kept trying to negotiate with Mark about when I was going to call them again, because he was like, call them. And I'm like, no, I just want them to have a little bit more sleep. Like, I just so anyway, I started kind of moving. All right, let's look at my notes here. Oh, yeah. So Libby said she was going to get a little bit more sleep. And then I went to the toilet at like 2 a.m. and that was when it was my bloody show. I wiped. I actually sent you a photo.
You did. Yeah.
I sent you a photo and I was like, this is normal, right?
I was like, yes. That's, yeah. I'm not joking. I think I sent you the exact same photo like when I was in labor as well. It's like, yeah. This is the bloody show, right?
Yeah, I like sent Sarah a photo and I was like, here, this is the bloody show. And then I went back into the bath. I was like, now I'm going back into the bath at about 2:10. And then at like 2:50, I decided to get out of the bath. And at 2:50, I was like, whoa, you know, like really vocalizing through. And I'm guessing at that point, I was probably about 6 to 7 centimeters dilated. And I was really kind of rocking my hips and standing up and sort of swaying. And then what I did is I came into because Mark was like, let's try and keep the kids asleep as long as we can. And I was like, yeah. Agreed. So I was on the edge of the bed using the exercise ball, and I was just rocking on the exercise ball and using the edge of the bed. And then I remembered my back massager, my gun. I've got one of those crazy hardcore guns, like those back massaging guns. And I was like, oh, can you go get that for me? And so Mark went and got that. And then let me tell you, the whole rest of this labor, that back massager is the best tool I have ever used in labor ever. And you know how strong those things are. Like, it's like a jackhammer, right?
Were you having back labor?
No, this is what was so amazing.
But what you were using it on your back because your back was hurting?
I was using it the way you would use like a TENS machine, right? So the TENS machine is like almost like distraction.
Got it. Okay.
He was just massaging, just like all on the back each time, but my back was not hurting. And I was so celebratory of this because you guys know I did not want a posterior labor again. And I had, in the days leading up to the birth, I had been practicing, I'd been doing the miles circuit, which is so tiring. It's 90 minutes each time you do it.
What is
really
it?
tiring. It's a series of 3 exercises for baby positioning. And the first exercise is a forward lean with like your legs really far apart and your hips up. So you're just on a yoga mat, but like leaning forward. And you have to hold the position for 30 minutes. So that's it's hardcore. So you have to hold the position for 30 minutes. And then it's 30 minutes of the exaggerated side lying on your left-hand side. So, but that's fine because like you prop yourself up with pillows and then I'd watch a show and I'd often fall asleep for those 30 minutes. But then the last 30 minutes is 2 steps at a time for 30 minutes walking upstairs. And so you're doing the stair climber for 30 minutes when you're like 40 weeks pregnant.
Wow.
So that was kind of tiring. But I will say it obviously made a difference because you guys, I was only feeling this at the front, like so deep down low at the front and radiating across the stomach and nothing in the back, which was just absolute heaven. So and Mark would just like, I'd say, okay, another one's coming. He'd put it on my back and I would roll through and vocalize. And then Mark was like, I really think you should call Libby and Julie. It was 3:30 a.m. at this time. And I was like, I just feel like I should let them have a little bit more sleep. And then I had one that was like, whoo, like really powerful.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm calling them. So I rang and I was like, I think you guys need to come now. Like it's really on. And she was like, okay, we're on our way. So then at that point, I was like, I think I'm going to wake these kids up. I really lean on vocalizing. That's like one of my major tools.
Yeah.
And I was at this point, like what you said about your labor too, Sarah, like,
yeah,
this was just a freaking dream. Like
yes.
I loved this stage of this, like the dancing through it and, you know, getting through each one. And I have never in my labor, I have never felt more clear, more focused. I've never enjoyed it this much. Like this aspect of it, I was just like, and you know what, like really, when I look at what made this such a beautiful dream birth for me was, I think with Prairie, I was so exhausted. I was having back labor. Every wave, I was always like, oh God, here comes another one. It was like that sort of feeling. So I was letting myself in that birth be like, oh God, oh my God, another one's coming. Okay, like trying to get through it, right? This one, I was like, oh my gosh, here comes another one.
Yes.
This is amazing. And it was such like, it was just so, each one was 1 minute. I didn't look at it as like, how many more 1 minutes do I have to get through? I was like, now I'm through this minute, like, oh, this is at the peak now. And at this point, I was really vocalizing, but then I started doing all my like Ina May Gaskin full psychedelic vibes where I was like, my visualization just really came into play. So what I was visualizing was like the start of the contraction would happen and I was suddenly like out in the galaxy. This is what I was picturing. I was in the galaxy among like millions of stars and I was like swimming through this galaxy and there was a lotus flower. Like I was swimming towards this lotus flower that was like slowly opening up and I was like moving towards it and I was like on a high. Like I had tears in my eyes. I was like just on this other planet and completely just in this galaxy, like through these minutes. But then I would like, it would come back down and I would come back into my body. And then I was like, oh, wow, that one woke the kids up. Okay, kids are awake now. Mummy's having a baby. And they were like looking at me like, oh my gosh. They were so excited. Bodhi was like, oh my gosh, Mum. He was so pumped. And then I said to Mark at like 4:00, I was like, you need to call Mick because Forrest is going to miss this if he doesn't come now.
Yeah.
So Mark called Mick and was like, it's go time, brother. Like she's in it to win it. Oh, was that little giggle? Was that a giggle noise, Ocean? Oh, little miss. So at this point, Libby and Julie arrive. Like
Amazing.
right at this point. And I've just hi babe. Sorry, I'm just at the bit. What's your like drop off schedule here? What are you, 8:00?
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. It's so good to see you.
So good to see you too.
Can you hear
Hi,
Sarah?
buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just saying that this is the moment that I moved from here. Remember when I moved from our bedroom, because we had been actively avoiding waking the kids up, but at this point, because of the vocalization, there was just no way that was going to happen. Like I was deep omming. It was like an wasn't it? It was like like really, really deep, like a vibration. And the vibration was helping sort of release this energy.
Yeah.
And
whenever those start, I'm like, it's on.
It's on.
It's on. It's happening.
So true.
And then I moved to this tool, which I would say was absolutely so helpful through labor, which was that birth sling.
Yeah.
So good, right?
Was so good.
So good.
At like 4:10, I moved to the birth sling, don't I? And I'm sort of not using it like in all the ways I thought I would use it. How I was using it was putting my full body weight on it, sitting on the exercise ball so that my back could be straightened out. I really just wanted a flat, straight back so that I wasn't arching my back at all. So before I went to the birth sling, I decided to try the shower again because I was like, this is feeling so intense. And I remember that moment in my birth with Bodhi, and Sarah always laughs at this moment where I went on the birth ball in the shower and I was like, oh my God, I'm staying here forever. It's the best feeling.
This is amazing.
And I remembered that in this labor and I was like, oh, I'm going to go try the birth ball in the shower again because I remember how much I loved it with Bodhi.
Yeah.
So I did do that, but Mark was you were filling up the birth tub, and wasn't there some problems with the birth tub, but he didn't tell me what they were.
Oh yeah, the hoses kept bursting because of the heat.
Oh no.
And just like going all over the floor. Yeah.
Were you freaking out?
A little bit, but then I finally jammed it in there and just put like massive bowls underneath the one spot where they were joining and just kept emptying the bowls as they would fill up.
But he was using all the hot water to fill up. I don't know what was your intention there? You just decided to put boiling hot water in first?
I went scalding, boiling hot first to then go cold because I felt like, I didn't know how long it was going to be sitting there and I wanted to be warm for you.
Meanwhile, I was in the shower losing my hot water and I'm laboring in the shower and I'm like, it's cold. And that's when Julie popped in and I was like, Julie, like she had just arrived. I was like, Julie,
the water's cold.
It's cold. The water's cold. And she was like, oh yeah, I think maybe you've run out of hot water. I was like, oh God. And I was like, oh, I really need to get out of here. This is cold now. So then Julie wraps me with a towel and then kind of walks me down to the birth sling. And that's when I get in the birth sling at this point. But I'm dripping wet. I'm cold. I'm on the birth ball. And then I'm saying to Mark, like, I need the back massager. So Mark's like equipped with the back massaging gun. And there was a very specific spot it had to be on. I would very quickly shove his hand away if the massager went on the wrong spot. If it was too far over to the left or too far over to the right, I would be like, I would move his hand.
You basically just wanted it on the base of your spine.
The base of my spine. At the strongest, the most insane jackhammer power.
God.
Like my teeth were rattling. It was like straight on her bone. I was like,
you're like jackhammering it.
It was so good. And then, this was quite funny. I was like roaring through it, and I was talking about how I was being like really psychedelic, like out in the galaxy, like and then my birth photographer, Jerusha, turned up right at that point too. So maybe about 4:15, 4:30 she arrived. And she arrived right as Forrest pulled up. Mm-hmm. So Forrest pulled up. I actually had quite a giggle. I was like, oh my God, this must be so funny for Mick, because he could I'm sure he could see through into the room.
Oh my God.
Was just, I was like, wow, how funny. But he was such a legend to come and
they were awesome. And it was wild how awake him and his buddy Dash were at 3 a.m.
Oh, did you run out and meet them?
Yeah. Forrest like hopped out and was like, all right,
Cute.
It was so cute. And then at that point, Bodhi was like, Mum, what can I do to help? And I was like, all right, could you get the flannels, which is face washer, and could you like wet them and put the scents on? He was like, which scent do you want? And I was like, you pick. It doesn't matter. Like, you just pick a scent. And so he put, I think it was like lemongrass, but sort of doused the lemongrass.
Oh, shoot. Oh, God.
Over this flannel.
Straight essential oil.
Like right straight essential oils. And I was like, amazing. And I grab it and I put it on my face and it burns. My whole face just burns. And I was like, ah! And my lips are burning.
Is he dying? He must have felt so bad.
But this was my fault. I didn't even think about it.
You're like exploding with a huge rash.
It was in my eyes, burning my lips. I was like, my face. And poor Bodhi was like, oh God. And he was like, what do you need, Mum? Do you need ice? And I was like, yes, ice would be great. Thank you. And then he like fills up this bucket of ice and brings it to me. And I just scoop up ice and shove it on my face. I have a whole handful of ice and I'm like icing my entire face. And I was like, oh my God, it was so ridiculous. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I was like, no, I'm sorry. I told you to do that. Like, it's fine. It smelled great. Don't worry. And he was like, oh no, I'm so sorry, Mum. And I was like, no. Seriously, it's fine. Where are the kids at this point? Are they all like during the labor, not now? Where were they at this point?
They were like floating around. Well, no, Poet and Prairie were watching a show at that moment. And Forrest was just sitting in one of the chairs by the birthing pool, just kind of like chilling, just observing everything. And then Bodhi was like just eager to help out.
Yeah, Bodhi was like by my side the whole time. And he took over. I don't know what you were doing at that point. Oh, maybe you were just sitting with Forrest, but he took over the back massager from Mark. So he started doing the back massager. And then and I knew I was about like 8.5, 9 at this point. And Jerusha turned up and she was so great because she was off shooting, but I didn't even notice her. I mean, you probably noticed her, but I didn't even notice.
No, she was awesome.
She was just awesome. She just like was in the background shooting. And I was kind of roaring through, and I knew at this point that I was close to transition. I was like, I think I'm at transition. Like, this has gone so fast. And I caught myself in this feeling of like, when does this get scary? Like, when does the moment come where you're like, I can't do this. This is because I just felt elated the whole time. It was funny, wasn't it? Like, and Mark was saying too, it just seemed so different from the other. You know, I feel like Poets was so great and I loved it so much, but then I had that cervical lip and then that made me feel afraid. I was afraid at the cervical lip, and those contractions were just so overwhelming when I had the lip, because as you said in your birth story, like when you feel like there's just no progress and you're kind of hitting a wall, and that can be really that's like an overwhelming feeling. So in Poet's birth, I felt that moment. Prairie's, I was exhausted and in so much pain, and that was just like, oh God, that was just so hard. And then this one, I kind of knew I was at transition already, and I'm like, I didn't want to jinx it, and I was trying not to let myself feel like that. But I was like, whoa, like this has been amazing. Like
that's what made it really like hard for me to track.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because I'm just comparing it to every other birth, and then obviously Prairie's, and it got really intense at a certain point. And I knew that she was coming. I knew that we were far along, but that crazy level of intensity never happened. And it was really cool, you know, and this is what you were manifesting and wanted. You wanted this type of birth. Like, it seemed like the pain level was like at maybe a 6. You know, it was really so different.
So manageable.
Yeah. And then so by the time you got into the pool,
which was at 4:30,
yeah, I was like, this seems really quick. Like, is this going to peter out? Have you not gotten to that next level that I'm so used to seeing? It just never got there.
Oh, that was you. I thought that was Ocean. Oops. That's you making that noise. Oopsies. Oh, she's so cute. Oh my God. Look at this little face.
Wait, I want to see him. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We want some more boob. We need a boob. Sorry, I don't want the kids to be late. But
no, yeah. I should go then. But I just want to say it was like the Super Bowl of births.
Oh
my God.
And Teresa, our team won. You won. It was insane. It was like that, just seeing that it never got to that point. And it was, I don't want to spoil it. You say the rest. But it just was wildly calm and peaceful in a way that was incredible.
So special.
And she's just like, oh.
And she's a dream.
But
she's a dream.
And
you guys are amazing.
Breastfeeding at the same time.
It's just amazing.
With our little girls who definitely orchestrated being little girls on the other side. They both were like, hey, we're going to come in and we're going to be little girls.
Okay. I got to get.
Love you.
Love you.
I'll keep going with the story.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Love you, Sarah. Love you, Ocean.
Love you.
Love you, Lotus.
Bye, babe. Yeah, so at 4:30 a.m., I also wasn't feeling tired, which I think because I slept so much the day before.
Yes.
So at 4:30 a.m., I was like, I looked at Libby. I remember and I love a midwife who like they just let the woman do the thing. Like she was just, everyone was so hands off. Like Julie was helping with the kids. Oh, that's right. Because, my friend Chrissy was meant to be at the birth.
Yes.
But I called her at like 4:15. I called her and I was like, it went to voice message. And I left a voicemail and I was like, it's on. I'm about to have this baby. It's on. Like, can you get here? And then I messaged her because also she was so excited to see the birth as well.
Yeah.
And I messaged her. And then I said to Julie's like, do you want me to try calling her again? Because I actually met Julie through Chrissy. Chrissy birthed with Julie as well. And she was like, do you want me to try Chrissy again? I was like, try her, but it's all good. If she misses it, she misses it. It's totally fine. Like, I don't want her to feel bad or anything. Because we also I thought we would need a point person for the kids, but we really didn't. They were so fine. Like the girls were off watching a show. Bodhi was with me. Forrest was just sitting watching, like sitting by the birth pool. And everyone was fine. And also because I had Julie and Libby there and Julie knows the kids so well, Julie was just like holding them and like with them, making sure they were okay. And they were both so hands off. They would come in and listen to the heartbeat in between contractions. and then be like, yeah, perfect, baby sounds great. And then they would walk off and they'd do some paperwork, or they'd just be off kind of observing. And gosh, I was really left to labor to do my thing. And so then at 4:30, I said to Libby, do you think I should get in the pool? And she was like, what do you think? And I was like, yeah, I think I should get in the pool. I think I should get in the birth pool. And and they had actually said that I needed to wait to get in earlier because it was scalding hot.
Oh my God.
Mark had cranked the hot water so much that even if I wanted to get in earlier, I definitely could not have got in.
Oh God.
And I think maybe Julie had been putting some colder water in there. Anyway, whatever. They got it to a good temperature. So I get in the pool and it felt amazing. That's that feeling that people talk about when like the relief of like the hot water and your belly's you're just kind of floating around, and that just felt so, so good. And then Bodhi said to me, Mum, should I go wake up Nana? And I was like, oh my God, yes. Yes, go wake up Nana. Like I totally forgot. So Bodhi ran and woke Nana up. And my mum said that she like sprung out of bed and ran over. Like she just didn't even brush her teeth, get dressed, nothing. She just ran straight over. And so she came in, she was like, hi. And I'm like, hi, Mom. And then I was really, really leaning on my vocalization at this point. And I had my first really strong, intense contraction in the water. And I was like, oh, like really sort of loud. And like I was using the vibration of the sound to like roll the energy through and out my body. I was really picturing it as I was picturing the lotus flower opening up, like this lotus flower opening up in the galaxy. And then I'd come back into my body in between. But this is the time when I really focused in. And so instead of sort of chatting in between contractions, I just knew I had this job. And I was like, okay, I have this job at hand. Where am I at? And everyone was kind of sitting around watching, and I shifted into self-direction mode at this point, where I would have a really big strong one, and then I put my fingers up to check where she was. And I put my fingers up, and I could initially I just felt this kind of bulge, that hard bulge. And I was like, okay, I can feel the head. And then I like swiped my finger around, and I could feel a little bit of cervix left. And so I was like, okay. So then I said to everyone, I'm at 9.5 and there's a half a cervix left, like half a centimeter. And they were just like, okay, great. Okay. Like no one's like, amazing. Or whatever. They were just like, great, fantastic. No one getting ahead of themselves.
God.
And I was like, okay, so I'm at 9.5. And I was like, okay, I have half a centimeter of cervix left. And so then I knew like, all right, the next few contractions and rushes, that's going to be about moving that centimeter of cervix away. So then I just really went into it and like dancing and rocking the hips. And then I think on that second one, I actually said, hey, I'm going to put my back out of the water. Can you use the back massager? I got so used to using the back massager. And one other thing that I failed to mention is when I was on the birth sling and Bodhi was at the front, because he had brought me that bucket of ice, I actually every contraction, I would scoop up ice and put ice directly on my stomach. Each time, each contraction, I would scoop up ice and ice the front of my stomach while he did the back. So I had ice at the front, massager at the back. And that's what I did that for about maybe 30 minutes. And that was really helpful. So then in the water, I asked if like they could still use, obviously it can't go in the water, the back massager. So I would lift up my back out of the water so that they could use it during the
Wow.
contraction. And then I had one more really strong one, and I checked again and the centimeter had gone. So now it was just the full head. And so I was like, okay. So then I announced to everyone, like, I'm at 10, like I'm fully dilated. And she was my rude finger away. I could feel her. She was as far away as my rude finger, my middle finger. And I could feel the squishy folds of the head, and I could feel her hair. And then I was like, okay. So then I moved into, now I've got to get her. I always find this bit the most challenging physically, because you've got to get them down to the crowning. And that's when, for me, my body takes over with the fetal ejection reflex. But I've still got to get her head down about 2 inches. So what I decided to do was, on each rush, use the power and bear down myself, like physically bear down in a way that I don't bear down when I'm crowning, because I'm so afraid to tear at that point. I never bear down then. But now I was like, now I'm going to bear down. But I knew that I was 100% dilated because I had checked myself and there was no lip left. So I knew I could bear down. And so with I reckon I had 5 really strong, powerful, filled with energy contractions that I bared down into my asshole, like literally like pushed into my asshole, and I was shitting up a storm. And it was literally, I could feel myself shitting, by the way. And Mark was scooping my poo out, but because he was touching me like inadvertently, like on the foot with the scooper, and he asked me to move my foot at one point so he could get a piece of poo out. I was like, you can't ask me to move my foot. It was the one time I snapped at anyone. I was like, don't ask me to move my foot.
Oh my God.
And I was like, work around my foot. And he was like, okay.
Sorry.
And he was like, I'm just trying to get this out. And I'm like,
oh my God.
Like, I don't want to think about my poo right now. I don't want to think about you scooping poo right now. Like, I'm working on bringing this baby down. Anyway, so that was kind of funny. I laughed about that later.
Wait, can I ask you one question really quick? Because it's fascinating to me. So you don't feel the fetal ejection until baby is crowning?
Until baby's like, I started feeling it when baby was a centimeter away from crowning.
See, I was feeling it when the baby was still, like when it was still at 9.5. That's when I was feeling it. That's why it swelled.
Rough. Yeah. That's like that, because I did not feel like, and I was waiting to feel it. I was like, I'm still not feeling it. I'm still not feeling it. And then once I started that actual pushing physically myself, then the body kind of started doing it as well.
Your body was like, oh, okay, it's on.
Okay, we're doing this now.
Yeah.
And I would, after each contraction, I would stick my finger up, and then I would tell everyone in the room, she's now up to here, or baby's now up to here. All right. Okay, this one, the baby's head's now here. And I was like telling the kids, like, all right, now we're this far away. All right, we're this far away. And then I remember the feeling.
So cool.
It was so cool. And then I remember the feeling when I was up to like the top knuckle, so I was a centimeter away. And I was like, guys, the baby's a centimeter away. We're going to meet our baby. And then everyone like came around, and I was like holding the hands of all my kids, looking in all of their eyes, like, the baby's almost here, you guys.
Oh my God.
And then
I love that feeling at that point when it feels so big in the, like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, it feels like you really feel like something is there. Before that, you don't really feel it, but it's like right before you crown, you're just like, wow, it's so massive. But you can really target where to push, because you can really 100%. Feel where it is, you know?
And when people are like, where do you push? I'm like, your asshole. Push down like you're doing the biggest
you
shit
can just
you've
like
ever done.
Really feel it there. Yeah.
Yeah. Like just, and go for it. Like, you go for it. I mean, I never recommend that, like, for the crowning part, because that's really where people can tear. But like, to get them down to that point, unless you're having very strong fetal ejection reflex, you can manually push if you've been given the all clear. But because I've had so many babies now and I was able to check myself at that point, I knew I was all clear. I literally swiped my finger the whole way around to check, and I was like, there is no cervix here. I can feel a full head.
Wow.
So then
that is so freaking cool that you did that yourself. That's so cool.
This is what I meant about self-directed. I was so self-directed at this point, and there was no one coming in being like, I'm going to check you. I didn't get checked at all throughout labor. And I just was able to like really understand what was happening with my body. And then when we were like a centimeter away, that's when I was like, all right, like, here we go. This is the bit. Like, this is my favorite bit. So I push again, and my body's sort of pushing at this point, and then I feel the tightness. And I don't usually feel the ring of fire.
Yeah.
This time round, it felt burny and stingy. And I was like, oh, and I said to everyone, Julie was amazing at this point. She was amazing. She came down face to face with me, and I had my like head on the pool, because what was kind of intense was like this stinging sensation, which I really have not felt since Forest. And I was like, oh, this feels very tight. Like, this feels very tight. And Julie came and held my hand. I've got a beautiful photo of this actually that Teresa took. She came and held my hand, and she started whispering to me, like, very motherly. And, this is the 4th birth we've had together. And she was like, baby is right here. This is the moment. Baby is right here. And she was like, now you're just going to move into your breath, and you're going to move into your breath. That's it. And you're going to slow this all down. And this is my favorite bit, where you start to really slow it all down. And she was so like motherly in that moment. And it was like just me and her. It was like the sisterhood, Yeah. And I really listened to her, because my body started wanting so hard to push this baby out. But the stinging, the burning sensation, I was like, what you described in your birth was you were told to try and stop yourself, right? And I had that in my head. I remember like Sarah was told to like try and stop the fetal ejection, which you were like, that's impossible. Like, I can't stop this.
They were like, breathe through it, try to like stop it from happening.
And it's hard, like, when your body's like trying to take over. That was like more challenging, was to try and stop myself from just pushing this baby out, because I really felt like I would tear because it was so tight.
Yeah.
So I was trying to stop this ejection reflex. I was like, oh God, that feels so weird to try and stop that. But so I was battling that. It was like a push-pull where I was going into my breath.
Yeah.
But using my breath, but also trying to stop myself from pushing.
Because when you get to the very peak, right? You get to the very, very top of it, and then it's almost like you get to the top, and then it's like the squeeze, the like really intense squeeze. It's like trying to just like, okay, we're gonna
shove it out.
push.
It's such a funny feeling.
So you get to that part, and you're like, how do I stop the squeeze?
Yeah,
like I can't really. Yeah,
and it's hard. Like I was like, I could just tell that my breathing wasn't as controlled as it usually is at that bit, where I'm like, I was kind of like, because it was trying so hard to push the head out. And I haven't felt like, it hasn't felt like that before.
Yeah.
So I managed to just like keep in this push-pull battle, and the head was slowly coming out. But this head felt a lot bigger than the other heads. So I actually had to birth her head in 2 contractions. Usually I can do it in 1 and then the body will just come out.
Yeah.
But I actually birthed half her head. So I birthed up
to
to
like
the
here.
Yes, the and then you're sitting in that stretch in that and I was just saying
It's massive.
Stretch, stretch, stretch. And then Julie was like, yep, you're stretching. That's perfect. Libby had a mirror down there and the others were looking over. They were at the back of me looking over and they were like, we can see the head. Like all the kids were so excited, like the head's there. And then Julie's like, okay, baby's forehead is out. On the next contraction, you'll get the rest of the head out. And I was like, yep. So I had the next contraction and I did the same thing where it was like that kind of push-pull, using the breath, sort of letting my body push her head out a little bit. And then when her head was fully out, the sting went away completely. Like that was just gone. That was like sweet relief.
Yes.
And then it was like I had been out in this galaxy, right? I was out in this psychedelic realm. And then it was like, zoom. I was like so in my body. And I had the most like lucid, awake feeling of pure happiness and joy. And her head was out. And I look up, I can't wait to see this photo. I look up at the faces of my little children who are all standing around me. And I was like, this is so funny. I'm like, do you guys want to get in? Do you want to get in the pool? Do you want to come and birth the baby? The head's out. Who wants to get in?
Did they all say no?
They were all like, no. They've seen shit coming out of me, like goop, crap, like all the stuff that comes out. And all of them were like, and I was like, really, Prairie?
Oh my God.
You don't want to come in? By the way, I'm having this like moment of connection with my children and everyone's like, no, we're good.
No, we're good.
And I was like, and then I was like, hang on, I should probably like get back to the job here. I still have to birth this baby.
Oh my God.
And then so I was like, oh yeah, whoops, I need to, get the rest of her body out. So I put my hand down there and then I felt a cord really tight around baby's neck. And after I'd just been sitting there talking to the kids about who wants to come in the pool, I felt the cord. And then I was like, oh my God. And I was like, cords around the neck. And I just said it out loud. And then I knew, all right, the moment the body comes out, I'm just unwrapping this cord. I just take it off and I had the plan. So I was like, okay, pushing baby out, unraveling this cord. So I went, like I pushed down the baby shot out into the water and I just grabbed the baby under the water and it was around twice. The cord was around twice. So I went boom, boom, like really fast, took the cord off, pulled baby up onto me and immediately went to look for the gender. Like that was the first thing I did. I was like, put the baby up, split the legs and was like, it's a girl. Like I just screamed it like, it's a girl. Like started like oh my God, what?
Oh my
and
God.
Then I'm just like have her legs wide open. By the way, she's like flopped on me. She like hasn't taken her first breath or cry or anything yet.
Oh wow.
She flops on me and I'm just like, it's a girl. I can't believe it. Mark, it's a girl. Like, so then I'm like, okay, the baby. And I'm looking at the baby and she's pretty floppy. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I've seen this before. When Forrest came out, Forrest was really stunned and not doing anything. And I was like, oh, okay. And this was a similar amount of time as Forrest's birth. And so I was like, oh, okay. I'm going to just start rubbing her. Like I just started rubbing her. And then I heard Libby say, you get the oxygen? And then so I didn't even know this was happening. Julie and Libby came and they put the little oxygen mask on her and gave her like 4 breaths, like boom, boom, boom. And I was just so elated at this point, and just because I felt her moving while her head was out and the body was still in me.
Yeah.
I had felt her wriggling around. So
Yeah.
I knew she was okay. And Libby was like, her heart rate's completely fine. She's just not in her body yet. So they gave her breaths to help her get into her body. And I was just looking at her and I was like, come on, Bubba. Come on, Bubba. Oh, sorry, I just woke you up. And I was just touching her chest, and her color came straight in. And then, but I looked up at Mark's face, and it was like the most terrified Mark face that I've ever seen. Like, he was just so, I think that's the hard thing about being the dad, right? Is like, I've been connected to her this whole labor, and I've been feeling her move. And even when I pulled her out, I felt her moving. So I knew that she was okay. But as like an outsider looking on, like, that's a scary thing to have to see. I also know and understand birth so well at this point that I knew she just needed a bit of help to get back in her body. And the difference between birthing Forrest, when Forrest was like this, was they cut the cord immediately. I was in the hospital. They cut the cord immediately, and they took him over to the table and they gave him breaths over there. Whereas because we're a home birth, they did the breaths on me. She was on me where they gave her the breaths. And so we had already gone through this with Forrest, but you know, baby had been taken away from me at that point. So I remember with Forrest, it was kind of like, is everything okay? Like, is he over there and he's fine? But here, like, she got to stay with me, and Libby was just so bloody cool. She was just so like on it, calm, not panicked at all, just did the thing. And she was just so reassuring. She was like, yeah, her heart rate's totally fine. She just needs to come back into her body. That was a really quick birth. She was a bit stunned.
Was she monitoring the baby's heart rate? Was she like putting a thing on to listen to it?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So she was like listening to the heartbeat like the whole time. Well, the whole labor, they listened to the heartbeat.
Right.
But then when she came out, she also listened, and she was like, baby's fine. And then so Julie and her just gave her those breaths of oxygen, and she was completely fine, pinked up, and then like opened her eyes and just stared at me, was just staring at me like, it was the funniest, cutest little thing.
And then did she cry?
And then she started crying.
Oh my God.
But it was rattly. She was like crying. And so I did that thing that I've seen lots of women do before that I've never done before, which is where I put my whole mouth over her mouth and I sucked all the snot and stuff out, spat it into the water. Yeah. So I just spat all the stuff out into the water. I did it maybe 3 times just to like, so she wasn't so wet. And then she was just like belting. She's got lungs on her, and she was just kind of belting and then snuggled, like belting, snuggled, and then was like on my chest. But then Mark, of course, was like, I think just get her to keep crying. And I was like, oh, no, she's had a big cry. Like, she's totally fine. And that's his pattern with all of our babies, is like, he really worries like after they're out, like, are they okay? Is everything okay? So I feel like him getting to find out she was a girl was not as exciting for him as it was for me, because he was so like, is she fine? So is that normal? Like, and he was like asking the midwives, like, that's, you know, that color is totally normal. Yep, she's pink, she's warm, don't worry.
I feel like that hour after birth, like, is really intense for the husband, the partner, like, you know, whoever's with you, is because they're not experiencing the same dose of like hormone chemicals that we're experiencing. And then they're watching so much of it, you know, it's like you and the baby.
That's right.
And how were you right after she came out? I mean, you're so excited. It's a girl. It's shocking. How do you feel? Was there any sort of like disappointment, or were you just like, no?
It was the opposite. And then I realized, like, oh no, maybe I did secretly have a preference for a girl. It was like the opposite, which is so funny because I want a healthy baby.
Yeah.
That's what I bloody want. But I had just made peace with the fact that like I've got my 2 little girls. I am probably not going to get to have another little girl. And I think for me the name Lotus was always my boy's name. So I just assumed that this was a son. Like I just knew this was a boy. In my head I was like, Lotus has been a boy's name. All my journals, all my everything have always been a boy Lotus, right? And so but there was that part of me that felt guilty having a boy with this natural conception because, I went through IVF last year.
Yeah.
And those embryos are little boys and they're just sitting on ice. And there was that part of me that was like, oh, if this is a girl, like I'll put 2 boys in, like I'll use 2 boy embryos and then and Mark was like, if this is a boy, like we're not then going to put 2 more boy embryos in. He was like, no. So then in my head I was like, oh, so does that mean that he'd be more open to like putting 2 little boys in if this is a girl? And it felt like he is more open to that. And so when she came out and she was a girl, I was like, oh my God, maybe I do get to have more babies. It was the most ridiculous like thought process.
I had it right after my crazy birth. Like I immediately was like, I get to do this again, right? I can do this again. No.
Yeah, you're like, yes. I know I still have a son out there, so I'm going to do this again. I just felt like she came out, she was a girl. It was like the universe, God's plan, like she is meant to be our little daughter and I am so blessed and lucky. And it was just the best. It was like the most beautiful surprise I've ever experienced. It could not have been more beautiful, that experience. And when these were a couple of little inklings I had, right? Obviously, like Polly had said something you'd been saying, girl, and I felt like I wasn't like letting myself believe that she could be a little girl.
Yeah.
I wasn't like letting myself have that feeling, but there was – Bodhi had said something to me that like I couldn't get out of my head like a couple of months ago, which was like, Mom, if this is a little boy, like he won't have his little Forrest the way I do. Like it's me and Forrest. We are best friends. And if this is a little boy, like you have to have another one because it will be on its own. And he was like, a boy, like a little boy needs a brother. Like this little boy is going to need a little brother. And I was like, oh my God, like, will Mark even let me have more kids? Like, will this little boy just be by himself and be so far away from like Forrest and Bodhi's age that he's not folded in? You know what I mean? And I started getting in my head, I'm like, oh, but if it's a little girl, that'll be 3 little girls close in age. And maybe that's like going to be an easier dynamic. And then the little boy won't be, left out. Like I just had all those thoughts and feelings. And then when she was a girl, I was like, this is who we're meant to have. This is our little family. And and also, the options there on ice if Mark ever lets me have any more babies. But look, at this point, I feel so blessed and lucky. And these were the 2 feelings that I had when I was in labor, early labor, right after kind of my water broke. I was like in the bedroom. This is when I was in the bedroom still. And I looked at the plaques. I had the 2 plaques up. So I had I had the boy plaque, which was Lotus with a different middle name.
Yes.
And the girl plaque, which was Lotus Bloom. And I was looking at them and I zoned in on Lotus Bloom and I was like, I think this is you. I think it's you. And I was looking at the plaque and I'm like, I just think it's Lotus Bloom. And then the crazy thing, which I told you, was the song that she came out to, that she was literally birthed to. If you go back to my baby announcement, my birth announcement, I use this song on Instagram by Rufus Du Sol, and it's called Inner Bloom. And many, many posts ago, I posted this beautiful photo of the girls and my belly to that song. And I remember just thinking about that song so much.
Yeah.
And the girl is Lotus Bloom, right? So as I'm birthing this, as her head is almost out, Rufus Du Sol comes on, Inner Bloom. And her head comes out to the like most iconic bit of that song, which is the bit that I put on Instagram. Like the main like drop in melody of that bit. And her head came out to that. And I looked up at Mark and I suddenly was like, I think this is my Lotus Bloom. And she came out to the song and it was a girl and it was so magical. And I was like, oh my God, all these beautiful signs from the universe. And of course it was my little Lotus Bloom. And she's just so perfect. And we got out of, I actually stayed in the water for a while and we got photos taken. Teresa took the most beautiful photos. And then I finally, eventually, I was going to have just a physiological next stage of birth, which is the placenta, where you don't force it out, you don't have Pitocin to get it out. I just like let it come out in its own time. And so I suggested to Libby, who is just so amazing. She's just such a strength, to have two strong women who have been doing this for 30 years be there. These like really like motherly figures who are like advocates for like the woman birthing and trusting the birthing woman. Like I felt so held by them, but also like left alone to do my thing. I got out because I suggested, why didn't I birth the placenta like out of the bath? So she helped me out. Forrest cut the cord. We waited till it stopped pulsing, and I did sort of want to have a Lotus birth for Lotus, but then the kids were so grossed out by the idea that I decided not to. And also, like, I think there are some beautiful spiritual like meanings to it, but I didn't think there was any real physical benefit myself to like letting the placenta just fall off in its own time. So we just decided. Also, I didn't want the work of having to prep the placenta and do the herbs and take care of it so it doesn't smell and all the stuff. So I was like, all right, we're going to get rid of this thing. So Forrest came and he tentatively came over to like cut it, and he was like, so what do I do? And then he did it, and a tiny bit of blood kind of spurted out, and he was like, did I do it wrong? And I was like, no, that's right. That's exactly perfect. Aww. And so he got to cut the cord. Bodhi got to cut Prairie's cord, and so Forrest got to cut Lotus's. And then I ended up passing her off to Mark for skin-on-skin cuddling while I sat on this blow-up birth stool and just kind of waited for the placenta to feel like it wanted to do its thing. Yeah. And I kind of had stopped having contractions at that point, so I just ended up manually pushing the placenta out. But I was so filled with energy and oxytocin and excitement, and I could have run a marathon. I was like, had so much energy compared to Prairie's birth, where I was so
dead.
I was dead. I was like, I cannot push a placenta out now. Like, I remember the placenta for Prairie was the most annoying part of that birth because I was so tired. I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't have an ounce of energy left in me to push out the placenta. But this time around, I was just like chatting. I was so excited. I was like, I can't believe she's a girl. Yeah, I was just so happy. And then she was like, Libby said, if you want to lightly pull on the cord just to see where it, like, let's feel up there, see where it is. And I could feel that it was like a full finger length away. And I just manually pushed it out and it just slopped out.
Oh, it's the best feeling ever.
It's all warm and gooey and big.
Oh, it's like a hug to your insides that have just pushed out this like giant baby. I mean, and also you had a big baby. Was that your biggest baby?
She was my second biggest. So
who was your first biggest? Bodhi?
Forrest.
Oh, Forrest, yeah.
Yeah, because Bodhi came at 38 plus 5. He would have been my biggest baby. He was 8 pounds at 38 plus 5.
Yeah.
So that was a big size baby for not being, at my dates yet.
But Forrest was how big?
He was 8 pound 4.
And so this baby is
she was 8 pound 2. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which is what I guessed she was going to be. I said 8 pound 2. And she was 8 pound 2.
That's a great size. It's a great size, trust me.
Yeah. I actually texted Sarah afterwards and I was like, the fact that my vagina with an 8 pound 2 baby was like, oh my God, this is a tight squeeze. I was like, what in the hell? How do you push out a baby that's 3 pounds at least bigger than my baby? I could not. I was like, your vagina.
Well,
I just don't know.
Hearing you talk about all of it too, I was thinking about when you were putting your fingers up there. Like I put my fingers up there so many times. I think I told you in my birth story. And I felt there was nothing. Like I couldn't reach to where I needed to go to like touch anything, So I was just, for so long, I was like, where the heck is this baby?
This baby,
like I've been pushing for so long and I can't even like feel where she is.
Stuck behind a cervix.
I know. So it's so cool that you were able to like follow that journey yourself and like see where baby was at. And oh my God. And then the surprise. It's so special. Look at her. And you just look so good. Like your aftermath. I mean, we can talk about this when we get into postpartum with you, but you've been doing so well, right? Like everything's gone really well.
It's been amazing. I feel so grateful. I'm so happy. I didn't have any hormonal dip outs.
Oh, I mean, that's so good.
I've just been staring at her and the breastfeeding's great. She's sleeping so well. She's just...
Oh, my gosh.
I swear she's giving us smiles. People are like, really? And I was like, I lock eyes with her. I talk to her. And then it's like, it's the most spiritual thing. She does the curl, the little happy. And I was like, I'm connecting with her and she's reacting to me.
I mean, these babies have been around us for 2 years. Like we've been calling them in for so long that like now that they're here, when they look at us, they look like deep in our souls.
That's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah. It's like, Eric was saying this. He's like, she's so like connected and soulful. And I'm like, yeah, because she's literally been around us for so long.
And they've been wanting to come in and find the right little bodies to come in. And I just like, it is just heaven. The one thing, and I'll talk about this in postpartum because people could be like, oh, come on. Like, I've had like the dreamiest experience, right? But I will say the afterbirths with a 5th baby, holy crap, the after pains that you get with the nursing and I was like, I am bloody back in labor again. Like,
I know. It's more intense every time. So
every
it's
time.
Really.
So this was the gnarliest one. I used that back massager on my uterus. I was just like,
you're just like right here. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I get them.
And for me, like down the front of my legs and just like right on the inside of down the leg. That feels so good. Yeah.
Yes. But
so helpful.
Yeah, we didn't know what to do with the placenta. I was just, Libby's like, what are you doing with the placenta? I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Chuck it in the freezer. It's just,
you know what? I've done so many different things. I have turned it into pills. I've drank it in a smoothie. I've like had the cord like made into a heart and whatever. You know what we did this time?
What?
We put it in the freezer. And then we went out and we bought an avocado tree and we put it in the base of that and we planted an avocado tree over top of the placenta.
Oh my gosh, that is what I was thinking of doing.
Yeah.
I've done that once before with forest birth.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think we would just bury this on our new land.
Yeah,
you
you
know,
should.
like literally just bury it.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And I never used the capsules, even though I did the capsules. I never used them.
I
or
used
felt
them
like
for a while, but then I would always stop using them, and I was like, this is such a waste of money.
yeah.
If I'm not going to take them and commit to taking them, then it's a waste of money. So
And then Sarah, remember I FaceTimed you. No, I right after the birth, actually I was trying to FaceTime people before I'd pushed the placenta out, by the way.
Oh my God.
And then I tried to FaceTime you and my friend Susie.
Yes.
And then Libby reminded me, she was like, you haven't finished the birth yet because and I was like, oh yeah, whoops, I gotta push that out. But I wanted to surprise Sarah with the gender. And so there's the cutest video did Sonia take that video of you FaceTiming with me?
We'll have to put that out. Yeah.
It's gotta go out.
Yeah. We'll release that with this episode because it was so amazing. I was like, before she even was able to turn the camera on, I was just screaming because I couldn't believe. I was like, "Oh my God, this is so crazy!"
Yeah, it was so.
And I felt like for a second I thought I saw what it was, and then I was like, I don't want to be wrong. So then you were showing me again.
I literally opened her legs and put the camera there.
I'm like, oh, there's some meconium. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And she did have meconium. She had shat it all out into the pool. And rest in peace, that pool.
That's R.I.P. R.I.P.
Yeah, I was going to give it to my friend who's pregnant, and then Libby's like, no, this
that's
is
a bye-bye. Goodbye.
That's a throw out.
We are very messy birthers, you and I.
Yeah,
it is just all good.
the
There's
bodily.
Nothing cute about that. It's all
exactly.
Thank goodness for black and white photography.
Oh my God, it's so true. It's so true.
Well, that was incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that whole story. And oh my God, it just blows me away. You really called in that birth. You really were able to have the birth of your dreams. And so special and so cool that our labors were so similar. Those amazing rushes that just felt so exciting with your kids, with your family. And I've had one of those labors where I was alone in the moonlight and all of that. And it was so beautiful. It is just you feel so unbelievably connected, and the evening hours are so spiritual and just it's just really cool.
They say a lot of women do go into labor at nighttime when everything's calm, there's no stresses and the noise, and
so good.
It was so good. I feel so incredibly grateful.
Look at these little babies.
These are little babies, and they're going to meet over Christmas.
Oh my gosh.
I know, our little girls. I know.
Can you believe it? We got to get you going on your hair. We got to put some of Teresa's Lovewell stuff
element. Just rub it on.
I'm going to just drop the element onto my nipples so she
Yes. I know, this one has so much hair. I'm like,
we'll get to Christmas and she'll be full wig, and you'll be like, what'd you do? And I'm like, element. Haven't you guys
girl.
tried it?
It's so good.
That is my plan for postpartum hair to not fall out, is I'm going to be dousing myself in element.
I literally have it here in my 2-liter bottle.
Yeah,
I've just been having
it's going to be
ice water
throwing
element
that
every day.
in. Oh, best.
Goodness. Well, thank you for listening, everyone. That was so fun to share.
Beautiful too, by the way.
God,
you guys, right? You look
That's
stunning.
So nice.
Your bangs are
happy.
perfect. Your hair's amazing. You're glowing. Whatever. Sitting in your sundress. I can't.
Well, I've been using my Bayo, by the way, on my face and on her bum and vagina.
Yes. So good. Oh my gosh.
It's a really good barrier.
It is. It's so good.
It's so good. But thank you everyone for listening. I love you.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. And daisies, you've been listening to the Mother Days. And if you want to see so many baby moments on this podcast, then go over and follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel because there's lots and lots of videos. We have postpartum and pregnancy vlogs. I don't. Teresa does them, but I'll have other videos up soon. And
She will.
And then we have all of these episodes on video, and you can see little babies just nursing and chewing on their fingers, all the things. So, all right, guys. So we love you, daisies, and thank you, Tez. I love you so much.
I love you. Bye, guys.
Bye.